Welcome to the Business Growth Spotlight, where we shine the light and talk with business leaders from all over the world who share their expertise and insights so we can all grow together. I'm your host, Heidi Shaw, co-founder of HLH Growth Solutions, where we help businesses scale their revenue by using outside-the-box visibility strategies. And today, I've been having so much fun with my guest already. I'm talking with Ryan O'Hara with Pitchfire, and he's in New Hampshire. Welcome, Ryan, to the podcast.
Thank you for having me here. And when you say outside the box, I just want to let you know, I love that. I hate doing stuff inside the box. Today, we're going to get everyone listening to this to be jumping out of their headphones or whatever they're listening to this on. We're going to get you to think outside the box. I'm really excited about this.
I love that. Yes, inside the box is boring, Ryan. It's boring. We get to step outside. So can you kick us off, Ryan, and tell us a little bit about you, about Pitchfire, and your role within it?
All right. Do I go full life story? Like, are we going to do like a Bob Dylan biop here? All right. All right. So many people, I grew up originally in Massachusetts, moved to New Hampshire. Senior year of college, I worked as an intern at this company called Dyn. They were like a managed DNS provider. And I was going to school at the University of New Hampshire. And I got this job doing like making videos and running their YouTube channel. And this is like when no one was doing stuff on YouTube back in the day. And while I was editing videos of all these engineers talking about their product, which was super technical, it was like I got bit by like a radioactive server system admin guy. Cause like when you edit hundreds of hours of footage of people talking about stuff, you have to learn it. You kind of accidentally learn it. So I got hired out of school there to do like a lot of prospecting and stuff. And back in the day, I was really creative and cool at prospecting. I'd do like cold email people, I'd cold call. But the thing that kind of blew up and helped me in my career was, speaking of outside the box, in 2011, I made music videos for a bunch of prospects. And I used the same 15 seconds in the last 15 seconds and the same melody for all of the different prospects, but we changed the lyrics around for like 7 or 8 different companies. There's actually 7 of them. And 6 of them became customers from us doing this campaign. The only one that didn't get back to us is Expedia. I don't care. I'm going to shout you out. Hey, Expedia, I'm never using you. Damn you. No, I'm just kidding. Well, they didn't get back to me. I'm not kidding about that. But we got into a bunch of companies, and one of the people that actually like received my cold email with a music video link in it was Jason Killar, who was the CEO at the time of Hulu. Eventually went on to like run HBO and stuff. He forwarded my music video to like an entire press list, and I got picked up all over the news for making music videos for prospects, and it changed my life.
Wow, that's such a cool story, and it's outside the box.
Yeah, that's right.
We're getting outside the box.
We need like some sort of sound effect that like adds echoes or music when you're like outside the box.
We definitely need that. We're going to try and put that together for this episode specifically. Now that you
thank you. The editors. Like, I hate this guy. Now I have to do more work. So I worked on that, and after working at Dyn for a long time, I took a couple leaps in a couple of different startups and stuff, and I eventually found a home as like a VP of marketing and growth at this company with almost no customers called Lead IQ. And people know about Lead IQ a lot in the prospecting world. They're an extension people use when you're like on a LinkedIn profile. You can capture someone's information. It'll go and enrich it with contact data. And we mainly went after sales reps and stuff. And my job with no customers was to figure out how to get people to know about Lead IQ. And like we grew like crazy, like 2 or 3x every year that I was there. I worked there for almost 7 years, and don't worry, it's going to relate to a story, I promise.
Well, I'm good.
While I was there, we used to do this state of prospecting where we'd ask people what your average reply rate was on a cold email. 2016, the first year that we did it, the average reply rate on a cold email was 6%. Average connect rate on a cold call was roughly 10%. So like you call people and they answer, only 10% of people will actually answer their phone. 2021, the last year that we did it, we were way bigger, so we had an even bigger sample. The average reply rate on a cold email had dropped down to 0.7%. And the average connect rate on a cold call had dropped down to 3%. And that's when I started thinking about, holy crap, I love cold prospecting because it levels the playing field, lets everybody get a shot to get in with these people that you might not ever know. But I was seeing this channel that I loved die. And it started to make me think about like, all right, what if I had to reinvent prospecting today, how would I do it? And that's how Pitchfire kind of started. I went deep into starting to talk to founders and startup VPs of sales development managers and VPs, CROs, CEOs about what they're doing. And I ended up finding out that almost 80% of these B2B companies that are out there aren't even hitting their pipeline number anymore. And that was a couple of years ago. It's probably even worse now. I mean, think about like that whole end. And then if you're a prospect, obviously I need to talk to that side. Most people that get cold calls and cold emails will get prospected almost 780 times a year. And that's just entry level. If you're an executive, you might see that in a week, which is crazy. So do you get prospected, by the way? You probably do, right?
Oh yeah, prospected all the time. I mean, just think about how many times we're getting prospected just on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
and then add the cold outreach on email and all of that. Yeah, it's absolutely happening. And I'm hearing, talking with all the founders and CEOs on this podcast, we're hearing that cold marketing isn't working for them. So you need to hit them up.
Yeah. So if you're someone that I looked at this and said, okay, well, how do I make it so that there's the feeling of getting prospected doesn't feel icky, like it
Right,
feels good. And on the same end, by the way, no one will tell you this, that all these sales influencers and leaders and stuff, they don't feel good cold prospecting people either. They don't
right,
want to do that. I mean, you kind of have a shelf life, in my opinion, of cold prospecting where you can do it for like 2 or 3 years and like it, and then you just hate it. Because especially today, it's a lot more button pushing than it used to be because of AI and stuff. They're like the creative, like I'm going to paint on this canvas of a cold compose window and come up with something has kind of died. And the reason that these things have gone down is because an executive doesn't spend as much time in their inbox as they used to.
that's
You go
true.
back to 2016, if I email the CEO, they might be in their inbox, or even just a VP or director, they'd be in their inbox on average at a B2B company for 3 hours and 38 minutes a day. Today, the average person that's director or above is hanging out in their inbox for only 38 minutes.
Wow.
So you start doing the math out and thinking about it. No wonder cold prospecting doesn't work anymore because the road that you're driving to isn't even hitting the end point.
Yeah.
So what that ended up happening is I started thinking about like, oh, okay, well, buyers, what would make you respond? And I had seen one of the most popular things is people go and write software reviews on sites like G2 Crowd. And I was noticing that like, and there's all these corporate gifting platforms like Sendoso. They like let you send gifts to prospects and stuff. And I'm like, companies are spending so much money on marketing. Why don't we just give that money directly to the people we're trying to prospect? And that's how we built out Pitchfire. And we had a couple of pivots. I'm sure you're going to ask me some questions about that because it's all about growth and stuff. But like we had to pivot a bunch of stuff. But today we're now trying to build the world's leading paid prospecting platform, a place where buyers can get paid to answer sales pitches and sellers can get answers from the people they're trying to prospect without having to call and email and bug them 100 times.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your intriguing story and everything with us. So it's like I love it, and I love how you went far back and shared your whole journey with us.
Too
Which
far,
helps
too
us.
far. Went too
No,
deep.
no, no. I actually love it. We don't get that a lot, and I love that because it kind of gives us the big picture and shows us your evolution and where you started and to where you are now, which is huge because as businesses grow, which you're going to talk about pivoting, you got to evolve, right? And there's different ways to make that happen. But I would, before we get into that, I'd love to learn to know how Pitchfire, where'd the name come from? How did that?
Oh, all right. Well, it does involve the pivot a little bit. So
Okay, perfect.
when I first was working on this idea, I started to scheme it up and do discovery and stuff before I left Lead IQ. I was starting to think about this and do interviews and asking friends and people in the sales and marketing space
Mhm.
about this stuff. And the original idea was going to be literally just a marketplace where you could buy meetings with people for the context of sales. Like, oh, I want to sell this person. Let me give you $200. Come to my meeting for 30 minutes and I'll pitch you. And we had this whole dumb calendar thing that we built that was kind of like Calendly, but you pay for it to get a meeting with someone. And it might sound like a cool idea. People are probably hearing that like, oh, that sounds neat. What happens though is when you pay someone to go to a meeting, what 5 minutes in, they know they're a bad fit, and they won't tell that rep they're a bad fit because they feel bad because they got compensated. And they hang out on the call for 25 minutes. The rep also will continue perishing, like going on, even though the deal is going to perish anyway because it's a bad fit, because marketing paid $200 for this. I'm going to do my song and dance and make sure they hear it. And what's even worse is a lot of these people, especially if they're introverted, won't reject the rep for 2 or 3 more calls. So you actually end up wasting a sales team's time for, call it 2 or 3 hours every time you buy a meeting. And so our company was originally called Request for Meeting. I was trying to be like a request for proposal, only a request for a meeting. And we did that for about 2 years and just noticed we weren't getting repeat customers. Like rep would buy a meeting, then not come back, or a marketer would buy a meeting, then not come back. And I started to ask them about this and found out this problem. And this whole idea started to make me realize, maybe the thing that's better is instead of paying $200 to get a meeting with someone, you could pay $25 to $100 to just get a response. And getting a response is valuable because you get a no, they can give you a real reason no. There's no conflict of interest. They're not being bribed to come to a meeting. And the infrastructure to check this place where you're getting pitched exists in that manifestation. And I thought of fire because I kept thinking about, like, in New Hampshire where I grew up, every weekend like in the fall, we have fires. People have bonfires, everyone comes together, it brings people together. And I started to think about, like, all right, what if I could have that come together part of a fire and add pitch to it? And sure enough, the domain was available for a lease, and I leased to own it. We now own it, but like I leased the domain for the first couple of years through the person that owned it, and eventually paid it off, and now I own the domain completely.
Yeah, wow. You shared two great things that I took away from that. One is that you were asking questions, right? You asked questions. You realized that the first one was you weren't getting repeat customers, and it's cheaper to keep customers than it is to find new customers. And you're like, wait a minute, this isn't working. And then, so what did you do? You went and asked the questions. So you did your market research. And I think that's a key takeaway that for our listeners, I just wanted to highlight that because that's important for business growth. If you've got to know your numbers, you've got to be paying attention to who you're having, who you're working with. Are they sticking around? If they're not, how long they're sticking around, right? That's important. Are they sticking around? If they're not, why aren't they? And finding out. And on top of that, still going out there to the market, to the outside world and asking questions on what's your pain point, what are your problems, because just because somebody has a problem today doesn't mean it's the same problem tomorrow. So you've always got to be having those conversations. So I'm really glad that you shared all that. So Ryan, how does Pitchfire help businesses craft pitches that truly resonate with their target audience?
Yeah, so okay, there's a couple different ways to run paid prospecting. Think of it more like a channel versus Pitchfire. So when you use Pitchfire, you're basically practicing paid prospecting. You can practice paid prospecting as a buyer, or you can practice it as a person that's doing pitching to other people. Generally speaking, if you want to run paid prospecting, what happens is people sign up for Pitchfire and they get listed in our marketplace, and you can just go directly in and pitch them. If you do that, right now about 1 in 3 will actually take a meeting with you, which is pretty good. Like if you think about, like, I could pay $200 and have someone come to a meeting, or I could pitch 3 people for $180 and one of them will book with me. Like, it actually ends up being better for someone on that end. The downside is when you build a two-sided marketplace, you got to be able to feed both sides. So we have buyers and we have sellers, buyers being people in the marketplace that join. The way that buyers push sellers onto the marketplace is we have an inbox plugin that you can use for Outlook, Gmail, or Chrome. You should use the Chrome one if you're on Google, by the way. It's awesome. And anytime that someone writes a sales pitch to you, in one click, you can hit a button and it'll push that person to your marketplace listing and say, hey, listen, I only answer pitches on Pitchfire. If that sales rep chooses to, they can pay you money to get to the top of your inbox in Pitchfire, and you get paid to respond to them as long as you do it within 7 days. Mm-hmm. To get buyers on, we go to market companies and we say, hey, do you want to run some paid prospecting with us? And you can run paid prospecting at prospects that haven't responded to you before in your sales team. A lot of people like doing them for conference leads or MQLs that come into the funnel. And we go run all that stuff for you. And that's where we'll help you with your pitch. There's 4 ways to make a good paid prospecting pitch. The first thing I hate that I see is don't copy and paste your templates that you're doing over email, because you're paying for a pitch. You have a higher chance of getting a response. Make your pitch really good. That's the whole idea behind this thing, is you're making the assumption that the person's going to get back to you. 4 things that I like to recommend for a pitch. You want to make your pitch mostly about your prospect versus yourself. So I open up with, how is this prospect special to me? Why did I pick them? I could have picked anyone in the world. Why am I offering them $25 or $50 to answer my pitch? Next, you want to dive into why you contacting them. Same thing you do over email. Wanted to see if we can meet. Wanted to see if you'd be interested in talking, things like that. And then the who are you part is where you reveal pain. It's not about features and benefits. It's not about features. It's mainly about what pain do you think they might have and how you think you might be able to solve it in 1 or 2 sentences. You don't need to introduce yourself. Don't tell people that stuff, because they could see all that information in your pitch when you send it on Pitchfire anyway. They know your name, your title, where you work, all that stuff. And the last thing is a call to action. What do you want them to do? The reason that you want to have a good call to action is because, I know it sounds dumb, but people need to be spelled out that you want them to meet with them. In our example, we have a respond button. You just hit the respond button and they can say, hit respond and book a meeting with me. And they can pick, yes, I'm interested, let's book a meeting. Or they could say, I'm not interested, here's why.
Mm.
Either way, you want to prompt them to hit that respond button. So that's usually what we recommend for making a paid pitch work and yield a response.
It's so good. So for you listening, just a little I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. A little hint here when it comes to PR and when it comes to also your social media content. Ryan just laid out the formula. That is exactly how you should be pitching media, and that's how you should be writing your content too. It's like pretty much the same way. You always want to have a call to action. You always want to lead with talking about them, right? Edifying who you're talking to. And then it's not about you, it's about the solution or the problem that you're solving. So I love that. And that was one of my questions. And now I don't even have to ask it because you
I
just,
blew the interview by giving too much information.
you're rocking the interview, Ryan. You're rocking it. You're totally rocking it. So, which is helping me get to other questions that I have, which is even better. How does storytelling plays a huge role in business. I don't think businesses realize how much they should be utilizing. I think they kind of like push it to the background many times. So how does storytelling play a role in sales messaging and pitch development? And how can companies improve in this area?
So I know that a lot of people are listening to audio only. I just had a huge smile on my face because no one ever asked me this question. It's a super great question and it's super important. Here's the deal, guys. We'll go back to the fire metaphor a little bit, right? If you sell or work in B2B, maybe you do B2C, which is cool too. It's still important. If you sell in B2B or B2C and you want to have one customer turn into two customers or one decision maker turn into two decision makers, the person you talk to needs to be able to regurgitate the story that you just said. And regurgitate's probably not the best word. And I don't know why I was thinking of the whole like nature channel like mama bird like doing gross like puking thing and forget that, that's weird. But like, you're like, why do I have this person on here, what am I doing? You want to be, the thing is, if you go sell B2B, usually there's 12 decision makers that have to sign off on a mid-market account before they agree to buy software. If you don't tell a story, that person's not going to go up to the other person and rattle off a bunch of features about your product because that's not what they do for a living. They do other stuff. But if you go and tell them a quick story about something, it's easy to remember. I told you guys how I made a bunch of music videos for people in 2011 or 2012 for prospects. I'm telling you that like you used to be able to do cool stuff with cold prospecting and get in front of people. Now it doesn't work anymore. That story is going to stick in your head versus like me rattling off all these data points and rambling about paid prospecting and stuff. There are some good data points that back it up, but I think the storytelling is much more important because stories can be retold by other people. Now I might embellish a little bit. Like I might be like, you guys won't believe it. Heidi gave me a bag full of $1 million after this podcast. And you're like, wait, I didn't do that. No, but like you can like people tell stories to other people. It's the easiest way to regurgitate and recite what happened on a call with somebody.
So good. And people connect with stories, right? It's like stories sell, facts tell, and people don't really resonate with the facts like they resonate with stories. And you shared your story and your journey when we first opened up this interview, and it was fantastic. It allowed me to feel like I was connecting with you better, and I'm sure the listeners felt the same. How has AI influenced the way Pitchfire helps your clients optimize their outreach and their communication strategies?
Yeah, this is the other cool part. So we talked about when you send a pitch to somebody, you want to make it mostly about that person that you're sending a pitch to. That's if they're in the marketplace. If you run paid prospecting campaigns with us, we can't do personalization for a large amount of people. But the reason there is just because we're sending it to people for the first time to come in and answer a pitch. But here's what's great about AI. You can use it as a buddy to go act like an assistant to get you information on something. So if I'm trying to sell to let's do Docebo, for example. Shout out to Kyle Lacey. Congrats on the new job. He just became CMO over there. Kyle's a really talented, brilliant marketer. If I wanted to go prospect into this Docebo, well, I'm getting emotional about it. 1 second. Sorry, I got a tickle in my throat.
Yeah.
All right, I'm back. Sorry. If I want to go prospect into them, they're a publicly traded company. I might spend hours reading stuff about them in news and things on their social media feed. But what I really want to do is if I wanted to prospect Kyle, I can get a bunch of research on Kyle as a high profile hire there. If I make my prospecting personalization mostly about Kyle and things I might have in common with Kyle, I'm way more likely to get a response versus if I just blanket it with given your role at Docebo as CMO, which is like what a lot of generic outreach is today. So you can use it as a research tool to help give you that information. Today, about 30% of cold outreach is being ridden by AI, which is really, really scary. That number will probably be 60% next year because more and more people are adopting it and learning how to use it. So I think that AI in this case is your research buddy, and that's how to think about it. It's almost like you can brainstorm and kind of filter through things and speed things up.
Yeah, more people, you're right. More people are using it. And also it's getting smarter.
Oh,
Right?
yeah. It's so much better than it was last year
Yeah.
and the year before, too. So here's the thing. I do want to drop this little nugget for people if you're doing messaging, whether it's for online dating, whether it's for, like I'm saying, you could scale this anywhere in your life, cover letters, prospecting, any of those things. What I recommend is there's kind of 3 layers of personalization, right? There's personalization 1.0, which is really focused on like where the person works. Now, I'll tell you the problem with prospecting about where the person works. The downside of prospecting where a person works is average person will stay at a company for 18 months, which means that the first 6 months, they're shy, they're excited about the job, but they're still learning stuff. The next 6 months, they're a change agent. They can actually create agency at that company and change a lot of things. But, that's like the sweet spot. And then the last 6 months, you know what they're doing? They're waiting till 5 p.m. hits their clock down at the bottom right of their screen or top, depending if they're on Mac or PC, dying for 5 p.m. to go because they've got one foot out the door looking for another job. And if you start thinking about that, if you prospect only based on where the person works and they're in that 1/3 of bucket that's new or 1/3 of bucket that isn't happy where they work, 2/3 of the people you prospect don't care about where they work. If your sales process is only about where they work, you're gonna blend in with all these other reps that are doing the same thing. Instead, what you should do is see if you have some common ground. AI can't replace you. So like Heidi and I, before we started recording this thing, talked about how she lives in Florida and I have grandparents that grew up and lived in Florida. And we talked about that for a couple minutes. That's common ground. If I wrote that in an email to you, Heidi, you'd probably write back to me.
Absolutely.
Versus if I were like, Heidi, given your role as a strategic thought leader in growth and leadership and all that stuff, everybody's writing that to you.
Yeah.
So you can kind of differentiate that way with your personalization. I call that personalization 3.0. And if you're having trouble thinking of triggers to look for, just think of personal life experiences or curiosity. Like almost act like you have no filter to just say what you're thinking when you see something that's interesting about them that other people don't have.
Yeah, I think I'm so glad you brought that point up because you just made me think about the inbound messages I'm getting for prospecting. Like they try to make it sound like they want a partner. And I'm like, in the first words are, oh, I love what you're doing. I'm seeing what you're doing. You're doing amazing things. And I love that you're XYZ, just like you shared. And I'm like, well, as soon as I read it, I'm like, no, I'm not interested in really like communicating. But like you said, really opening up that common ground, going deeper and learning more about them as a person is, if somebody came to me with that, absolutely, I'd open that door and have that conversation. I'd be running to that conversation. Could we talk about growth a little bit so we can share like a little bit about your journey in that respect to your company? Can you share some challenges that you faced over the growth of Pitchfire? Because you shared how you got started.
Yep.
But what are some challenges that you've gone through and how you overcome them?
Let's go present tense going through. It's a constant battle. There's an old Reid Hoffman quote that says that building a startup is like jumping off a cliff and building an airplane on the way down. And it's exactly what it feels like. It's like so challenging to know what to prioritize. And that's kind of been one of the hardest parts for me as a first-time founder is how do I prioritize what to build and what to not build, what to do, what to not do. You know how many people get on calls with me and say, hey, this is a great idea, and then they don't do anything with it. Like, that's not a signal that it's a good idea. It means you have to like go deeper and understand the problem and stuff. I think for us, a couple things that we've had to work on that have been a challenge is we have a two-sided marketplace, and you don't want to go after everybody. If you're building a place that has two sides, it's best to have a denser network. One of my favorite stories Andrew Chen wrote this book called The Cold Start Problem. And it's basically about building a marketplace. He was one of the guys that recruited all the first drivers at Uber. And one of the famous things that makes me feel better about everything with Pitchfire, we have about 3,000 people that use this right now. Uber took 4 years to get 1,000 users. Like people don't realize it took a long time for them to get going. Anyway, but Andrew talks about how the first credit cards got popular. And the way that they got popular was, I think it was the 50s, like 53 or 54. Bank of America wanted to do a program where they give out mini loans to people, and they couldn't get people to do it. So they're like, some person had this idea, what if we go to one area and try and give out loans for just one localized area? So they made credit card machines, the old ones where you put the card in with the bumps and you could like, like you'd run over it, it would save the number and stuff from the credit card. They gave credit card machines to all these different companies in downtown Fresno, California. And then they mailed credit cards to all these people saying, join Bank of America and you can run this card and pay us back a month later for all these businesses, but you can only use them in the Fresno, California downtown area. And before long, everyone in Fresno, California was using Bank of America and signing up, and they had credit cards pull up. Now, if Bank of America said, let's go do that around the world, there'd be no businesses to go run cards at. But what they were able to do is they did Fresno, and then they're like, oh, well, now let's go try Sacramento. Let's go try San Jose. Let's go try, I shouldn't have said San Jose. That's actually not accurate. Sacramento. And then they moved over to San Diego. And then they moved to LA. And before long, 3 major cities in California all were taking credit cards. Bank of America had both sides of their marketplace working, and they were making interest money on the credit cards from the microloans they gave out. And they became one of the largest banks in the United States because of this. So like you can, if you're building a two-sided network to stay on topic a little bit with growth, you have to be able to focus on one particular group. We're really trying to focus on companies that work, people that are in revenue, marketing, and leadership roles, touching go-to-market, mainly at B2B companies. And I'd like to keep that in the United States, but we are still getting some people that hear about us online somewhere and they still sign up and go make an account. I can't be like, no, I hate you, Australia. Why are you doing that? But hey, shout out to Australia. What's up, guys? But like they will still sign up. But our primary marketing and efforts that we're putting toward are trying to get that atomic network going just in that kind of area right there, so that more and more people are familiar and seeing it come up.
Yeah, I was just going to add, that was my next question. Who do you serve? Who is, like, for those people listening, who are those, who would be your ideal client? So can you share with us how you're getting in front of them now, visibility wise, marketing wise? Like, I know you do the outreach, but what are some of the ways that have worked for you? And maybe what are some of the ways that just haven't worked for you?
All right. So I will admit we do dog food our own products. So we run paid prospecting campaigns. Actually got the idea from PayPal. When PayPal first launched, they did a program where they went after people that were on eBay, and they said they would give them $15 for every single every eBay purchase. The first time you check out with PayPal, they'll give you $15 toward it. We run paid prospecting at people that are connected with me on LinkedIn. So if someone adds me on LinkedIn and I think they might be a good fit for Pitchfire, I'll go send them a $25 pitch to come in and answer. The biggest challenge that we actually have with network effects is driving adoption on the Gmail and Outlook plugins. People forget about it. Our biggest competitor, I'm just being transparent with you, our biggest competitor is the trash can. You've been deleting cold emails for 20 years. Now I got to teach you to hit a Pitchfire flame in your inbox. And that's one of the areas that we need to grow and work on. I was going to actually answer that before when you asked, like, what are some things you struggle with growth on, is driving adoption and changing that behavior. When someone does send someone to Pitchfire, 1 in 85 of those people will put in a pitch. The other ones, it threads the email and kicks you out, so you don't get the follow-up call or message from the person, or LinkedIn message too, if they follow up with you over LinkedIn with it. So like that's kind of been one of the struggles we're working on, is trying to optimize and figure that out. The way we're getting people to hear about us is we're doing what I call cross-pollination. I go and find people that are getting in front of that audience, and I just go do stuff with them. I make interesting content. We'll make game shows with people. We'll do webinars that are interesting, that don't have slides and panels, but instead like have a framework of something fun. For example, we did a go-to-market fantasy draft with some like 10 other go-to-market companies last year, and got a ton of people signing up for Pitchfire that way, because what we all do is we all agree to do this event together. We all email our list. Anyone that clicks and watches this live stream, we share a list with each other, and those people get invited to Pitchfire after. And if I see that they're a good prospect, which 30 or 40% of them will be, I go run a paid prospecting campaign at them and say, hey, here's $30, come answer this pitch and tell me if you'd meet with me. And when we meet with me, I try and convince them to put some capital into Pitchfire and run their paid prospecting. So I'm building this whole cycle of the idea of feeding both sides of the flywheel. I feed buyers with money and I feed sellers in with the incentive of being able to drive responses and build pipeline. Sorry if that's a little complex. I'm trying to fly through a lot of stuff with you, but cross-pollination is key. If you're listening to this and you're having trouble with growing, go think who already has my audience and go do stuff with them. Don't do boring stuff though. Do something cool and unique. Like come up with a creative idea and say you'll do all the work for them as long as you guys share a list together.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you bring a lot of fun and creativity to the business for sure, and to your clients. So what's next for Pitchfire? And you mentioned, and I've heard this before, collaborations, partnership, like creating relationships, that's key into growing. People love to connect and they love to help each other. So they want to help you. So if you have a way of providing value for them, you're creating a win-win for sure. So what's next for Pitchfire, Ryan? What are your goals for the next 12 months, if you can let us in on?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Coming up.
So we need to get a lot more buyers in the marketplace and a lot more sellers spending money on Pitchfire. So our goal now is to find ways to get distribution. Distribution can be anything. If you're a marketer listening to this, it's not about just making content anymore. It's about getting that content seen by people that have never seen it before. So we're actually investigating right now some different channels to do that in. I'll give you an example. If someone comes in inbound and books on my calendar and we talk about running paid prospecting with you, we are your experts that help you with everything right now. I would love it if I could get 30 or 40 agencies and train them on how to run paid prospecting so they can go do it with all their clients for us instead. And their advantage is, they obviously make a percentage of the media buy or a percentage of the pitch money that would come in from somebody. That's our revenue model, by the way. Mm-hmm. We take a piece of the pitch that comes in when it gets answered. You don't pay anything to use Pitchfire unless you get a response. And that's when we take our cut, when you get the response. But we're going to be investigating that. So if anyone's an agency hearing this, book with me and we can talk about distributing paid prospecting with your clients that you have and having them go execute it. Another thing that we're trying to do is we're going to be leveraging some AI stuff in the future. Right now, if you go and run paid prospecting, it's kind of meant on Pitchfire today to simulate a cold email. So you send a pitch to someone, it's text-based, you have 1,000 characters and you have to write it and you can put links in and stuff. But what I really would like to do is move that interface a lot more into like a chat interface with the prospect. And instead of you having a person go and pitch you once and get a response and that's it, what I want to do is I want to shift Pitchfire to be more of like, you could actually do all your sales communication inside Pitchfire, not just at the beginning, but throughout the whole sales process. So imagine if I go have a call with someone and it goes really great, a lot of these reps that we talk to say, not with Pitchfire, just in general, they'll get an inbound call that goes great. And that, what's the number one reason people lose deals? The person just stops responding and falls off the map. It's because we have other stuff come up in our jobs. It's not, but if I could take the incentives that we're driving to get you to respond and use that incentive to be like, hey, I'm going to pay you money every 30 days for keeping this chat open with me. You just have to respond every 7 days. Now I'm able to go change the whole sales cycle so that I'm not having deals fall off the map. And if they're not interested, they straight up have to tell me, hey, I'm no longer interested. And if they give you that answer, you can move on and focus your time and effort on people that actually are interested.
Amazing. Amazing. So Ryan, if I could give you a magic wand and you could wave it over one thing right now, I know you said you talked about some challenges you have currently, but if you could wave it over one thing right now that you could go poof and take away one issue or challenge, what would that be and why?
Yeah, great question. I think the most challenging thing that we have to deal with is figuring out how to expand Pitchfire to full teams as buyers. See, I'll give you an example. There's companies that have signed up for Pitchfire where they have like one employee sign up. They use it. They start getting paid to answer pitches. They notice they're getting less cold emails. And then they go get another person in their team on. One of the hardest things, full transparency, I wouldn't rip for people to hear this. One of the hardest things is we don't know how to sell this to a full team yet, but it's really impactful. If you have a company of 1,000 employees, you're going to get prospected almost 800,000 times this year. Even the low-end employees, like entry-level people that are just starting out and junior people, are going to get prospected almost 800 times. The hard part is we want to deploy that across your whole company, because if a rep gets sent to Pitchfire that prospects you and they are like, no, I'm not going to pay this person, they're just going to go to the next person and bother them instead. But we noticed that if a person gets sent to Pitchfire by 2 different people at a company, they're 75x more likely to actually come in and write a sales pitch to someone. So the challenge I actually need help with, if people are listening to this, is figuring out how do I expand Pitchfire to go to the full team. I'm still trying to figure out who the buyers. We've tried stuff with HR. We've tried stuff with IT. Right now, we've been doing product-led growth, so just individual sign up. But I'd love to figure out a way to move this into an enterprise motion where every inbox at a company is using Pitchfire.
Hmm. Fantastic. So, Ryan, if we could revisit this conversation 1 year from now, what would success look like for you and Pitchfire?
Oh, yeah. I think if we're doing this correctly, next year, most B2B companies that are doing prospecting and doing paid marketing are also trying paid prospecting. You can do all three things. You can do normal prospecting, you can run paid marketing. I want to get you doing paid prospecting. So it's an easy channel on that end. And then the other end is that the custom of cold emailing, cold calling is starting to almost seem faux pas when you could be doing it inside of a paid network like Pitchfire. But that's kind of I know we're not going to go change the industry in 1 year. It's going to take a little while. But if every day I'm getting a series of little wins that are chipping away, there's 220 business days in a year. That's 220 wins. We're going to be in a really good spot next year, and we'll be in a better spot the year after. And before long, 10 years from now, we'll all look back at how silly it was that we used to cold email, cold call, and LinkedIn message people for free when you could be giving them some sort of compensation to actually get their attention.
Yeah. Oh, I love this. It's such a good conversation. So I want to say
Yes.
thank you for this today. I'm grateful for your time. Is there anything else that you'd like to share before we wrap up that I haven't asked you or we haven't talked about or touched on?
I mean, I think the last thing I'd like to do here is I literally want you to use Pitchfire and I want people to do paid prospecting, but I also just like helping people. I love the idea of figuring out ways to hack the market in sales and prospecting and attention and just figuring out how to grow businesses. If you're listening to this and you're struggling with any of that stuff, hit me up. I don't mind helping. Like it's fun for me. It's like a hobby to try and crack a puzzle for me. It's like when you used to play Tetris back in the day. I just want to keep the score going. So if you need help with this stuff, I'm always willing to just help and talk to people about this stuff. Hopefully you'll want to run paid prospecting or you'll want to start using our plugins if you're getting prospected. They're all free to sign up for, by the way. But I want to just help people. So if you're hearing this and you want to try and build and grow your company, hit me back. I don't mind giving advice, or I'll point you to smart people like Heidi that can help you too.
Yeah, Ryan's amazing. He's so fun. As you can tell, go connect with him, and which leads me to my next question, Ryan. I'm not going to give away the goods. How can they connect with you and reach out to you?
Okay, two things. First thing, if you're someone that gets prospected, go to pitchfire.com and go make an account with us. There's two buttons on our website. I know we break the CTA rules. You're only supposed to have one CTA, but we've got two different CTAs for two different types of people. If you want to stop getting prospected and start earning some money for your attention, you can go there and make that. If you want to talk to me directly, you can actually go on pitchfire.com. And if you hit like that you're a seller, it actually goes right to my calendar. You can just book with me. I'm trying to do as many conversations with people as possible because it's fun. We actually have a sales guy that was like doing all these calls and stuff. And I'm like, hey, you know what, dude, I kind of want to do them. I miss them. So I'm doing them now. And then we work together on helping people out with their paid prospecting campaigns. So go book with me there. You obviously can add me on LinkedIn. The only thing I ask is if you add me on LinkedIn, put a personalized message because I have like 400 connection requests right now. And I can't tell if they're just going to instantly pitch me. The nice part is if they do, I just send them the Pitchfire after with my plugin. But like, if you want to add me, put a personalized message so I know you listen to me on here.
Okay, so there's two things there. Definitely go to pitchfire.com. I already did. And you do click on the buttons because I did. And you do get his calendar because I did. So I saw you on the calendar. So I'm like, that's Ryan. So yeah, everything he just shared with you, you are going to talk to him, and you've heard it here. He's pretty fun. So you're going to have a great conversation. So no matter what, you're going to walk away with a really good conversation and, some fun along the way. Second of all, go to LinkedIn, read his About Me section because I did. And it's pretty funny. He brings the fun to the About Me section too. He tells a little bit about it, but he does it in a fun way. Actually, you inspired me to update mine, which I am today, because I love fun too. And I'm like, I'm way too serious on mine.
Here's the key. If you want to be fun with your marketing and stuff, don't tell people, show people that you're funny. That's a key part here. But yeah. We should do a part 2 sometime and talk about this.
We definitely need. Well, you're coming to Florida. I told you you're coming to Florida, and when you do, we're going to do an in-person one. So you heard it here. We're doing an in-person interview when Ryan comes to Florida. So hit him up and keep telling him to come to Florida. Thirdly, is that what was the third thing you said? I did connect with you, and now I'm going to retrieve it, bring it back, and I'm going to write you a note.
Except for you. You got
I did
special
it right
privileges.
before we
You
came
got
on
special
here. So I'm
privileges.
like, shoot, I didn't write him a note.
That's okay. That's okay. I don't know what to do. What do you do with people? You know what I mean? What am I supposed to do? Like, I actually, this is a dilemma. Is like, I get these every day and I'm like, I don't know, like the context and who knows anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I just
Yeah.
want to know where you came from. How
You
cool is
know,
it?
LinkedIn shared stats where more people will accept your connection if you don't leave a note. Where
I
it
know, I
used to be
know.
you're supposed to leave a note. Now you're not supposed to leave a note. It's like it changes every day. You just can't keep up with it. This is why you do paid prospecting, so you don't have to worry about this stuff, right?
Up
You don't
is
have to worry
down,
about
down
the
is up.
algorithm.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
yeah, well, thank you so much, Ryan. Thank you all for listening. If you're watching Ryan and I on YouTube right now, thank you. And there's a button there. It says subscribe. Feel free to click it and subscribe to this podcast so that you can get notified when more amazing guests like Ryan come onto the show. If you know of any company, founder, president, CRO, CMO who could use paid prospecting or learn more about it, make sure you share this episode of Ryan and Pitchfire to them, with them. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, I don't know, iHeartRadio, anywhere, and you can leave a review, please do, preferably 5 stars. That would be supportive because this is our way of being able to reach more people and share more business not strips, tips, also strategies, and what our guests have been going through with growing their own business, such as Ryan has shared with you today. And if you are struggling with your visibility, you want to have some outside the box things, you're doing things and you feel like you're just not getting in front of your prospects like you want to, reach out to Ryan, and also go grab our free Spotlight to Scale blueprint. You can go to spotlighttoscale.com/blueprint and use it. It's free. It's yours. One more time, go to pitchfire.com, go click on those buttons, whichever one is you, book the call with Ryan, have a chat with him, go to LinkedIn, go connect, leave him a note so he knows it's you. Let him know you heard him here. And thank you again, Ryan, for your time. So grateful. This has been awesome.
Thank you. Write some reviews, guys. If you want to make it more fun, put some subliminal messages in those reviews. And maybe Heidi will read some of them on the show.
I will. You do that and I will read them for sure. Absolutely.
I don't know how you do subliminal messages. Maybe you uppercase certain letters. It's like long live Heidi secretly or something in code.
I can't wait. I'll do an episode just on all the messages. Yeah. Thank you so much, Ryan. Thank you all for listening to us today on the Business Growth Spotlight, and we will see you on the next episode.